One thing I really am trying to I'm really trying to get through this reading and still make a video that you could actually have on with your kids in the room or your grandmother in the room, and as long as they're okay with tarot cards. I don't want to throw out a lot of trigger words, and so if it seems like I'm dancing around the language and not going into the worst of the worst details, there's a reason for that. Hello, hello. I decided what I was going to read on. I decided I really needed to do this reading. And I set everything up. And it's the instant it was set up, this little one immediately showed up and just completely plopped himself down in the middle of everything. Just casually lying here, one back leg dangling off the edge of the desk. They got new, I don't know if you can see, but they got new catnip toys today. Yes. Oh, happy kitty. There you go, sweetie. Alright, so let's do a horrendous reading on a horrendous subject about horrendous men. I don't even think most people realize that there was a Trump modeling agency that was started in 1999, and just how I don't think that the random person off the street right now would know who John Casablancas is. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Who was a pedophile, but he was he started his own modeling agency in the 80s, and made himself the head of the New Faces department of this modeling agency, so he would have an office off by himself and would interview and measure young women who wanted to be models. And they did not have to be 18. And if you think, oh, well, it's just conjecture, what could he possibly have done? Well, do you remember the very, very, very beautiful Stephanie Seymour? She won the New Face competition when she was 14, and he basically sent her home, and she went back just to finish the school year or go through the next school year. But she sent him letters throughout that time, and on her 16th birthday he threw a party for her, and I guess she came to New York to start modeling, and he put out at the party there was famously a goblet of milk and a plate of cookies for her 16th birthday, and he moved in with her a week later. That's John Casablancas. The modeling agencies were very much just, I don't know, the only term I can think of right off the top of my head is den of iniquity. It was, capital D, capital I, den of iniquity. And Donald Trump was very close to John Casablancas. Casablancas was even, toward the end of his life, even though he was disgraced and that had been found out, he went to Brazil and he set up modeling things there. He set up modeling things there of very dubious honesty. And at the same time, he was on the board of Trump Properties Brazil. They were very close. That plus the fact that Donald Trump has been objectifying his daughters since they were babies and making inappropriate comments. Well, if you know anything about men who abuse teenage girls, that's how they see it. That's how they talk. And he encouraged Ivanka to start modeling at age 13. And he knew exactly what was going on in the industry. What I want to know is this Epstein mess, which is a whole different mess, but is this are the new Epstein charges and all that's going on there, is that going to hurt Trump directly? Is it going to hurt his reputation more? Is it going to have real consequences for Trump? Do I need to describe the energy around this topic? Do you know how in older video games there would always be like barrels of green radioactive goo, and you just got near them and the you know, the radiation, the Geiger counter, like in Half-Life, the Geiger counter inside your hazmat suit would start going off. Yeah, that's this. This is, each one of these cards in this reading is its own barrel of radioactive goo. For some reason, what just popped into my head was that there are going to be very surprising names of men who have gotten into this mess. I got 2 cards for the reading. It runs the gamut. There are people who were offered they offered to partake in some snorting of the white powder and other things of the human persuasion, and they didn't take it up. And then there were others who they had a whole thing going, a whole organized, that's what I'm getting, so that's what I'm passing on to you in the past. People being objectified and hurt, and the amount of damage it causes. You know, the thing is, I mean, if you do a reading like this, you don't even have to say allegedly. Like, what Epstein did allegedly. No, not allegedly. He's already been convicted. He's already been convicted of doing these things. He's already been found guilty. He just got a ridiculous sentence. Center of the reading. Yeah, and there's some talk that basically Trump started going off the deep end around about 89, 90, when his marriage and his businesses started coming apart. That's when you get the story that Ivana originally told about him, and you start getting some of the other stories. And he was always kind of he so wanted to be in the in crowd in New York, but even Carla Bruni, the model who was later the wife of the Premier of France, he said he had a relationship with her. He didn't. And she called him the king of tacky. And that's what most people did. So he was already getting frustrated, and as time wore on through the 80s, he just got more and more angry and frustrated, and more angry and frustrated. At the same time, he was hanging out with John Casablancas and Roy Cohn and other people who were enabling all kinds of, were doing, people who, they weren't even just enabling, they were doing all kinds of horrendous things, and they were bringing Trump along with them. Now, he rarely saw his wife and children. And he had Marla Maples as a mistress tucked away for an incredibly long time. And he was still going out on her. And but after the fall of the USSR, that's when things changed again, because you suddenly had all of these beautiful young women from, well, from Russia and satellite, the old Eastern Bloc countries. Hello, sweetheart. How you doing? He's like, what on earth are you reading on? What is this energy? This is not cute little kitty energy. No, it's not. This will not make for a happy kitty. And obviously, my priorities are messed up. Yes. Really? Anyway, as I was saying, once the USSR fell, there was a whole new influx of desperate women. Desperate, very, very young, vulnerable women. And Trump set up his own modeling agency in 1999. Base of the reading. Well, it's, you know, when you're dealing with women like Melania or Ivana or Marla Maples, whoever else, where they just want the money, and Marla Maples did not end up with much money, but Ivana certainly did, and we see the First Lady out there. But when you're dealing with women who are willing to do anything for money, that's what allows these things to happen. And the more that every time I hear about Melania's Be Best campaign, wow. Wow. Alright, I need to dig out some cards here, sweetie. Is there any way you could scoot up just a little? Oh, good boy. Alright, above the reading. Taking advantage of desperate women who are willing to accept all kind of smoke. You're willing to blow up their skirts. This is the girls that Epstein, Trump, and his ilk took advantage of. Kitty. And these are the women around Trump who are complicit, who let it happen. Your future. That's Trump on very unsteady ground. The ground beneath him is starting to feel like sand that's starting to shift. This feels like someone's still going to try to get some kind of sweetheart deal for Epstein. That's what that feels like. Home environment. But women are in a much stronger position now. This is a different time. And things are changing. Not as much as we hope. True, but tale of destruction. You would maybe want to go to the White House, the white kitty in the White House, and whap Trump in the head with your tail a few times, would you? I don't think we'd mind. And you're just a kitty. And your tail won't actually hurt anybody, so Secret Service wouldn't stop you. You could just go in there and whap, 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 whap. Just like that. See? Alright, hopes and fears. Trump is afraid all the horrible things he's done are going to come to light. That he's not going to be protected enough. And doesn't he have Barr and all the rest of them doing a merry dance for him? What other people see? One of the things that's happened... Hello, sweetheart. I'm going to lay down on your hand. Then maybe you will stop reading on this terrible energy. Maybe you will stop reading on the terrible energy. And you will pet the good kitty. The little fuzzy cupcake. You're the good boy. Yes, you are. You are the good boy. You are the precious one. This card here feels like it isn't just that Epstein's the charges against Epstein are focusing on the idea that he abused dozens of girls at his mansion. There's a thing where right now in astrology there's the planet Neptune, and Neptune is an artist's best friend. And generally speaking, someone who has a very, very strong Neptune in their chart is either going to have the capacity of becoming an incredible artist, or Neptune, the biggest liar you've ever met in your life. It just depends. Well, it tends to dissolve things. Saturn makes things more solid, creates limits, solidity. Neptune dissolves things. It rules things like fog and fiction and things like that. Mist. For a number of years now, Neptune has been in its home sign of Pisces. Neptune has been in its home sign of Pisces, which has, since it's so happy there, it has made, it's very strong there. And Neptune, the outer planets, they move so slowly, so they tend to affect the collective as they transit by more in a way that the inner planets, they zip around a little bit too fast, and they affect, of course, they affect people. But the outer planets moving into a new sign is usually a bigger deal. And I'm not the only person who loves astrology who has been believing that one of the reasons Trump has been able to lie so much and has gotten away with lying, and the collective has not called him on it enough, is because we are in an age of Neptune in Pisces. What this feels like is, even though Neptune's still in Pisces, it's like in the middle of Pisces, that does not necessarily mean that the entire time it's in Pisces that everything's going to be amorphous and lies and horrible, and it's going to be hard to nail people down for misdeeds. But it was very strong for a while, but it looks like people are, what this card feels like is that there's some people getting kind of the hang, they're kind of getting their sea legs beneath them. Neptune, sea legs beneath them, so that they can make reality stick better. They can bring charges. And that's what that feels like. Things starting to take form, things being formed, where before it was harder and harder to do that. So between the rise of the power of women and people getting used to this energy and dealing with someone who lies every single day without fail, after a while you kind of can deal with it. So final outcome, it's just a matter of time. What goes around comes around. more thing. Oh, that's interesting. This is the PTSD card. This is, you've still got the fence up, but it's not the best fence. It's got lots of gaps. Things can still get through. He's pretty beaten up. He's tired. And this is the card of the merchant. And often this comes, when Trump comes up in this form, this is his quote-unquote fortune. And it really feels like, you know, tinfoil cups painted gold. It's not real. His fortune is not real. And it is founded on absolute fraud. And all the projections, all the projection that Trump does, and sometimes the Republicans do, but Trump is the loser. But that popping up there makes me wonder if this is going to go along with some of the other readings that I've done over time and other readers have done, where it's actually the money that's going to bring him down. So let's see, is there any, is it the money that can bring him down, or is it this abuse of young women that Epstein shared with his friends? That's a lie. I mean, I can't even look at Melania these days without seeing someone who was very vulnerable and who came over and was a model and was doing, I think she was Trump, and he just decided she was pretty and malleable, and she liked him, and she looked good, and unlike all of those other women, beautiful women, she wasn't disgusted by him, and that's why he married her. And she's willing to put up with, horrible stuff. Be best. Anyway, coming at him from all sides, coming at his lawyers from all sides, all different kinds of topics. Oh dear. Alright, that's the card of children. This is the card that keeps coming up for witnesses. People who come in. It's like they come in and they leave important information or evidence, and then they go on their way, and the next person comes out and leaves evidence. So the whole family thing is a sham. I mean, it's beyond a sham. And his lawyers are, you know, his lawyers are set for life. I mean, so much money. And it does, there is something here about getting young women, especially from overseas, and those are children, young women. And somebody is going to come in and drop off some evidence of something. Okay, all right. So is this what, is this it? Is this what's going to bring Trump down? Is this why is he going to leave office? Is he going to, from what we know so far, it wouldn't explain why Pence would have to go too, but that's come up in readings a lot. But is this what, I mean, like, would his base be like, oh, gosh, maybe we shouldn't support this guy? Oh, 2 cards there. That's a sword of truth, and that's theft. So the sword of truth being brought, it's like evidence that It's like stolen evidence, which may not actually be stolen. It might just be witnesses coming forward, but to Trump, of course, still seems stolen. I'm just gonna pass on that. And all the underhanded things that Trump did, he thought they'd just go away because he won. He won. He's the president. He can do anything. And literally what came into my mind with that was, but at some point he's just going to motor. He's going to have to. So is it? One more time. Is it the money? Is it this? Or is it a combination of things? Is it something we don't know about yet? Well, you know, it's going to be something legal. Messenger. No, it's a witness. Goes around, comes around. This feels like Russian money. It's all intermingled. Because when you had when the USSR fell, and you had this group of oligarchs who amassed unimaginable amounts of money and power, and you had all of these incredibly weak, vulnerable young women who had no prospects coming to America or Europe and putting themselves in incredibly dangerous situations that they thought they could handle. But those oligarchs over in Russia also needed somewhere to launder their money. They needed some way to take all of their ill-gotten gains and put them into something that then you could say sell, like a Trump condo or a Trump mansion, or there are various ways people launder money. But then when you sell that off, then suddenly you have your money back. And maybe you sell it for a little less than you bought it for, because you've got to kind of pay the like Trump or whomever. But you as the oligarch, then you have this money that's quote unquote clean. And to keep this party going, overseas, then, you know, it was flatter people like Trump, flatter them. Trump buy his stuff for exorbitant prices, and whatever else he wanted, anything else he wanted. And that's what I'm getting, and it's a combination. Because even on top of that, we already know he was running crazy schemes, like when he inherited, he and his siblings inherited his father's fortune, Fred's fortune. Trump basically found a way to essentially cut out his siblings for most of that, and keep it for himself. And then he wasted that massive fortune. If he had even just stuck it in a bank and just lived off the interest, he would have been fine. But because he just burns. He's a terrible business person. Terrible. Seriously, he like when he had the casinos, like the Taj Mahal and Atlantic City and all this stuff, he bought himself a plane, a jet, with his name on the side. Put his name on the side. But then he wouldn't use it to fly in the high rollers, who are the lifeblood of these giant casinos, because he didn't want them using his toilet, his gold-plated toilet, and exposing him to heaven knows what germs. And when the high rollers did show up, if they were making too much money off of the casino, Trump would kick them out. And not in a nice way. I mean, they know how to finesse it in Vegas, but not Trump. He's a bully. He's a bull in a china shop in every situation, and he has no tact. He is completely selfish, and you know, his narcissism and his unbelievably bad business instincts, it you know, landed him in bankruptcy when he owned multiple casinos, and that's almost unheard of. I mean, it happens, but rarely, and certainly not like it did. It's because he is that bad of a business person. So it's going to be a combination of the things. It's going to be the Russian influence in the elections. It's going to be the Russian oligarch money into his business. It's going to be the tax evasion. And, you know, of course, he made a mess with the foundation money. And it's going to be younger people. That's what I'm getting. So for what it's worth, that's what I'm getting. All right. I'm gonna go make a cocoa, and try to get away from this energy. But I'm curious. Will we ever get to see Trump in handcuffs? I mean, I doubt we will. But will we ever get to see Donald Trump perp walk of sorts, even? Because I can see him inside of courtrooms over and over and over and over and over and over for the rest of his miserable, narcissistic existence. Yeah, that's just, his whole life is going to be courtroom after courtroom after courtroom after courtroom. He is much diminished. Those are secrets. This is the death of the illusion of the Trump clan with Mar-a-Lago, and we have hundreds of millions of dollars, and Trump says he's a billionaire, when basically he's at this point the only person who says he's a billionaire. Everybody else who has any way of knowing anything is saying no, he's not. But this is the death of this older way of going about things or seeing themselves because of the secrets, and him being very much diminished from emperor down to a man. Oh, he's wearing orange. And in being metaphorically strung up by his heels and being stuck. So at least there's that. There will be judgment. That's not for whom the bell tolls, Donnie. It's tolling for thee, bucko. Judgment. People who he assumed were going to stand by him, who were going to protect him. They have protected him in the past. He's going to be, they're barely going to give him anything. Barely going to give him the time of day. And he's going to have to take his whacks. As in whack, 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 whack. Like with kitty tail. That's punishment of some nature, and then this is his family losing their fortune. Seriously losing their fortune. And it's also going to knock a lot of people out of work when he loses his fortune. So, well, it couldn't happen to a bigger scumbag. And then it will be one for the history books. and they will study it far and wide. Yeah, Trump is going to be the example used in economics courses. How did he pull it off? Alright, so that's what I'm getting here, but hang in there. I know this is all very difficult, but we're going to get through it. Alright, and we are getting, this was closer than ever. And it's about time. And whoever got up on a Saturday with a government job and went and arrested Epstein, God bless you. God bless you. All right, hang in there.